Where were you whenever you got your very first Xbox? For me, it was the original Xbox, and it was the Christmas of 2002, so it had already been out for a few months, and I didn't have one because I was just a teenager and I didn't have money to get one. But I had spent a few weeks hanging out with my brother who lived on the other side of the state, and I was just spending some time with him, hanging out and everything, and he had one, and I fell in love with it. I was playing it a ton, and then we just happened to be at a store and there was a huge mountain of them. And of course, as a teenager who was completely broke, I'm staring at this mountain of Xbox consoles and just kind of drooling over it, wishing, one day I wish I could get one of those. And as I was looking at all of the consoles, he just turned and looked at me and said, "Hey, do you want one of those?" And of course, whenever I looked at him, I'm like, yeah, of course I want one of those Xboxes. That's amazing. So he told me to just run over and grab one. And just like that, my big brother bought me my very first Xbox console. And not only was this my very first Xbox console, this was my first console that I ever had that was mine. Whenever we were growing up, he had gotten an NES and stuff, but my parents were never really into video game stuff. And I was never able to get a console through all of those console generations. I would play with friends and things like that, but I never had one of my own until my big brother bought me my very first Xbox. Now, what does that story have to do with anything? Well, it has to do with today's video, which is 5 Xbox games for the original Xbox that still hold up today. Now, you may agree with this list, you may not agree with this list, and frankly, that doesn't really matter because it's my list, and these are the ones that I picked for it because they actually hold some core special memories for me about my time as a teenager and hanging out with my big bro. So let's go ahead and take a trip down memory lane, and I will show all of you 5 Xbox games that, to me, still hold up today. And first up, we have Jetset Radio Future. Now, this is the standalone copy of the game, but the original one that I had was actually Jetset Radio Future in combination with Sega GT 2002. And this is not my original copy of the game because as a teenager, I didn't have any money, as I said before, so I would trade in games to be able to get the latest and greatest ones that were coming out. And then once I had a job, every penny either went to gas, insurance, or video games. Now, with my original Xbox, what came with it was a copy of that dual pack game. So I got Jetset Radio Future and I got Sega GT 2002, and it was awesome because I got a console and it came with 2 games that were actually a ton of fun to play. Now, while Sega GT 2002 doesn't really hold up by today's standards, especially for like vehicle racing games, because Forza and Horizon and stuff, they got those on lock. Jetset Radio Future, on the other hand, still holds up very well and has a huge fan base. So much so that a new Jetset Radio Future is going to be coming out, and they even have another Jetset Radio Future-like game that came out a little while ago called Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is definitely a spiritual successor to this. But looking inside the case here, we got the disc. This was obviously a rental at some point in time with that 82. Got the manual in there, definitely not a full-color manual. But overall, this game was absolutely amazing and still holds up today. And the next game on the list is actually the very first game that I ever purchased for my Xbox, and that was Amped Freestyle Snowboarding. And this one right here is my original copy of Amped. Now, if you loved Tony Hawk games, if you loved any of the other games that came out during that time, like they had Razor Scooter games, they had wakeboarding games, and then of course they had the SSX games, but then they had Amped. And this game was absolutely amazing. It flowed so nicely, and it was everything that 1080 wished it could be when that came out a few years prior. But this game is just epic. It is so much fun. It is so easy to control. And one of the amazing things was this was one of the first games that came out that actually allowed you to import and rip music CDs onto your Xbox and then play those game tracks inside of this game. And whenever this game came out, I was going through a major Coldplay kick, and the song Yellow constantly reminds me of this game. And even today, this game holds up so stinking well. It is so good. But let's go ahead and take a look at the case right here. We open this up. You have your amp disc right there. You have your nice booklet. It gives you stats and all kinds of stuff about all of the different players in there. And then it even came with like a little Xbox guide for different games that were coming out. but Amped on the Xbox is absolutely an amazing game that definitely still holds up today. I didn't really care for the later games like Amped 2 and 3, but Amped 1, man, there was just something special about this game, and it is still an amazing play today. And next up, we have GTA Vice City, the Xbox collection. Now, most people played this on PlayStation. I didn't have a PlayStation at the time, so I played it on Xbox. And the game was awesome. This is not my original copy, and I do not have all of the stuff that normally comes in this, but I do have the map. And then, as you can see, nice rental-free disc. There's no writing on it. But Vice City was just such an amazing game for the time. It was actually the very first GTA game that I ever personally got into. I was never into GTA 1, 2, or 3, and I did end up getting into San Andreas later on, but Vice City, man, there's something about it. Just that 80s retro aesthetic. It was so cool to see. The graphics for the time were absolutely amazing, and the gameplay was solid. There was so much story to it, and overall the game was just an absolute blast to play, and it still is an absolute blast to play. I love Vice City. It is hands down my favorite GTA game. I know that might be an unpopular opinion, but you know what? This game is fantastic, and for me personally, I like it a lot better than San Andreas. San Andreas is awesome, okay? Don't attack me in the comments for that. But personally, I have more of an attachment to Vice City. And next up, we have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2X. Now, just like with the GTA game, most people would have been playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on a PlayStation. But for me, again, I did not have a PlayStation at the time, and 2X actually had extra content in it that the PlayStation release did not have, and that made it a lot more appealing to me. I put so many hours into this game, it is unreal. And if you were to look at either Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 or 2, in my opinion, 2 fixes every single thing that was wrong with Pro Skater 1 and then some. The game is absolutely fantastic, and with 2X, they added all of the additional content, which just makes it so much more fun. And when you open it, this is not a complete copy. It's not my original copy. A lot of my original games I don't have anymore, except for a select few, but this game is absolutely amazing. Now, are you wondering what is so special about this? Well, it includes 5 exclusive new levels, plus all the levels from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. So, this was a compilation disc. You got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, you got 2, and then you got 5 exclusive levels, which was just awesome. You got so much game for the cost of this whenever it came out. And that, I mean, alone right there, that's why this stands up still today. Aside from graphics, everything else, the game just, it plays so smooth. Now, before we get into the final game of my 5 games that still hold up today, I want to know, what is your favorite original Xbox game down in the comments below. And while you're down there, please be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, as well as that little notification bell. That way you can alert every time I got a new video coming out. Now, let's go ahead and move on to that final game, which is Halo 2. And this, of course, this had to be on this list. It's Halo. And it's not just Halo, it's Halo 2. And this was the limited collector's edition. Now, this is my original copy. I have all the collectibles for it still. Slip cover right there. As you can see, this thing is beat up. This used to just be one solid metal thing, but it has worn over time. But this was such a cool steelbook. And when you open it up, you can see right here, I had originally downloaded the Halo 2 multiplayer map pack, and it did not come with any kind of manual. So I made my own. Look at this ghetto thing right here. So you do all this. This is everything that was originally in the manual for the Halo 2 multiplayer map pack. Now, later on, when I started collecting things, I was actually able to go through and find physically the Halo 2 multiplayer map pack disc, and it came with this manual in it. But this was just something I printed off the internet with an inkjet printer, and boy, was that just awful. But this is everything that came with this. I mean, this was amazing. You got this right here, a great deal at 7-Eleven for a Slurpee. Strategy Evolved. You got your manual right here, full beautiful color. Underneath that, you got the Conversations from the Universe. And what was cool about this collector's edition was it was the game plus a collector's edition disc that had a bunch of behind the scenes footage on the creation of the game. And this was also when Xbox Live first came out, And I did have a gap in Xbox Live coverage there for a little while, but I was one of the original Xbox Live subscribers. So if you combine all the time my account has been active now with the time it was active then, I mean, it's been 20 years now, or over 20 years now, however long it's been now. I think 22 years, something like that, 21 years. Somebody let me know in the comments below, how long has Xbox Live been around? But the Halo 2 multiplayer experience was unlike anything I had ever experienced before. There were like SOCOM games and stuff like that on the PS2, and those were okay, but I never really got into those kind of military games. But Halo 2, man, Zanzibar. I played so many games of Zanzibar in multiplayer. I absolutely love that. Anytime you would try to like cheese the system, you would make sure that you didn't get all of the updates whenever they came out for the game, because you still wanted to be able to like glitch between walls. And I forget the name of the level, but there was one, it had the invisible bridge going over the top of like this big canyon that you could go into. And it was a perfect sniping point and would always piss off all your friends because they didn't know where you were firing from. But it was so awesome. And Halo 2 this game, it still absolutely holds up today. They did the remastered, it's part of the Master Chief Collection and all that stuff. And honestly, this has got to be one of my favorite original Xbox games of all time, just because of the experiences that I had. I remember one of my first jobs outside of high school was I worked in the computer labs at the college that I went to. And my boss, he was super chill, super cool guy, and he would let us bring all of our Xboxes in. We would each take a projector in one of the computer labs. We would network everything together, and after work, we would have massive Halo LAN parties, and it was just so much fun. And you would send a rocket into a Warthog on somebody else's team, and you would hear from like 3 computer labs over down the hall, people screaming like, "Oh no, they took us out!" And it was so much fun, and I had such a great time. And graphically, just everything about Halo 2, this game absolutely holds up today. And there's a reason that they did not a remake, but a remaster of it to include in the Master Chief Collection, because it's amazing. And other Halo games are great, and multiplayer definitely evolved over time. But in my opinion, peak Halo multiplayer is Halo 2 right here. So just a quick recap of those 5 games. We've got Jetset Radio Future, we've got Amped Freestyle Snowboarding, we've got GTA Vice City, the Xbox Collection, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2X, and of course, Halo 2, and this one specifically, the Limited Collector's Edition. So those are my picks for 5 original Xbox games that still hold up very well today, and a little bit of a personal story to go along with these, because I have a deep personal like core memory attachment to these, especially for, you know, a much simpler time in life when I could just hang out with my big bro and play some video games. We are much older now, and we live on opposite sides of the country now, so it makes it harder to be able to hang out and play games and stuff, but it's something that I look back on fondly, and it was awesome. It was a great time, and it created a bunch of really awesome core memories for me whenever I was a teenager. But with all of that being said, if you liked today's video, then let me know down in the comments below. And if you want to see another recent upload to the channel, then go ahead and check out this area right here. And as always, I'm Game Dad. I thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you later.